Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today is part 2 of my 2024 predictions video series, I guess. And I wanted to again split this up into two videos because I didn't want it to be, an hour long. So today we're going to be talking about the features that I think are going to be coming this year. Um, so a member of the community put this list together on a website. I'm going to leave it linked in the video description below if you guys want to check it out for yourself. But this essentially has all of the features broken down in the different panels from Citizen. So we're going to start right off at the top, shaping the verse. Okay, so the new quantum travel effect. Now, I don't see why this wouldn't be able to come out this year or have many technical issues. I don't think it should be very difficult for CAG to release something like this. I think they're probably just waiting to be able to implement it on all of his ships, and there are a lot of ships to have to be able to implement this on. They might also be waiting for master modes to have this come out. So realistically, I don't know if we are getting this year. If they do the quantum travel effect before master modes, it's not really gonna make that big of a difference. And again, the reason why I say they might want them to come out together is because the quantum effect is a little bit different because you have to manually control your ship in master modes for the new quantum travel. The new quantum travel has you manually controlling your ship for a certain point until it locks in. So I don't know if they're going to deliver part of the quantum travel effect or if they're going to wait until the new quantum travel modes come out. So this one to me is kind of a question mark. You see the question mark there. Um, and we're going to talk about master modes a little bit later as we go through this. Okay, next one is fire simulation. Um, I don't see why this can't come out either. I think that they might be waiting for the resource management to have something that might propagate fires. But realistically, if you're getting into combat, if you crash on a planet, a fire might break out. I think fire propagation, is something that would make the game a little bit more immersive. Like you crash land on a planet, you get out of the cockpit, and there's a fire in the background. We kind of already have that now with the effects on ships in their damaged state. So I don't see why this couldn't come out this year. Next one is new water simulation. Okay, this one is another one that I don't see why it couldn't come out this year. There aren't that many planets that have massive oceans. You're really, mostly looking at Houston. There are, I think, two other moons that have oceans. Microtech is icy. It has the rivers. The rivers are small enough locations that adding this water tech to those locations shouldn't be too difficult. I think we get new water simulation this year. Next one is Maelstrom. Okay, this is kind of a big one. This is the physicalized damage system. I think they're gonna really try to get it in this year. But in my opinion, it's kind of a long shot, and I don't really think it's all that necessary. I think the version of Salvage that they have right now is pretty good. I think they just need to refine it a little bit to make it more engaging, but I don't really think that we need Maelstrom for Salvage right now because, again, they redid the claw, so it doesn't really need to physically munch things. So in my opinion, I think that if CIG can, focus on, putting that development effort on something else, I think we could wait for Maelstrom to come out maybe in 2025. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Okay. Next is ground fog that follows the terrain and scatters light. Again, this is kind of like a graphics thing. It's not, you know, too intensive. I think that once they polish it up, they could get that in this year. I fully expect ground fog to be coming this year. The next one is the cloud improvements. We're supposed to get that in 322 at the end of 2023, but they wanted to work on it a little bit more, make sure that there are some more things in it. but it's just a visual upgrade. This cloud update is not going to enable the clouds to move across planets and form and dissipate. It doesn't have that technology. It's not that advanced. So I don't think that this should be that difficult for CIG to implement. Again, this is just kind of a graphics thing. Once they get Vulkan and some of the graphics tech we're going to look at in the game, I don't think it should be that difficult to get these cloud improvements in. Next one is temporal upscaling, FSR2 and DLSS2. Again, this was something that we talked about in the 323 leaks video not too long ago, that people were saying this might come again in 323. This is something that people have already played around with. You can do HDR, and people have tried to get FSR2 up and running, and they've had big frame rate improvements with it. So I think a native FSR2 and native DLSS2 is definitely going to come out this year. Next one is Vulkan implementation. Okay, right now CIG has basically said that everything is moving to Gen 12 and Vulkan. I think that it's pretty safe to say that Vulkan is going to come out this year. I don't know at what point this year, and it's probably still, again, this is not the finished version of Vulkan and Gen 12. The way that the graphics team have been talking about this is that this is going to be continually worked on throughout the entire alpha cycle of the game. So yeah, even though we will get Vulkan, it's the performance improvements are gonna happen slowly and over time, and the game is gonna slowly perform better. So, if you're thinking that Vulkan's gonna come along and all of a sudden it's gonna be amazing performance, doesn't really work like that. It's gonna take time. Again, the game is in alpha. There'll be other bugs, but they're trying to get things in a better state. Okay, next one is ray tracing. Okay, this is another one that was shown off at CitizenCon. I fully expect that CIG should be able to get this in the game. Again, I'm not a technical person. I don't know what hurdles could be in the way of getting this in, but the way it looked at CitizenCon, it looked like they had the technology there. It's just a matter of implementing it in the persistent universe. Next one is Star Cloth, character cloth simulation. I'm gonna kind of bunch these together. Star here, uh, new audio, and of course static silver meshing. So let me back up. At Star Cloth and Star here, I think are really doable. Right now there is cloth physics in the game already. Flags move, your nightgown moves. The game already has minimal cloth simulation, and of course the here tech with the here that moves, that's also in game in 322. So I definitely think that we're gonna get the more cloth physics and more here physics stuff in this year, no question about it. And new audio simulation, more realistic, where sounds when you're in space is kind of more muffled. Right now we hear everything, and that's not really realistic. If you're in space, you're not gonna really hear things like that. You'll hear your own engines, but I think that CIG should make an option that kind of gives us the ability to toggle this off and on, because again, some of the audio design is really nice, and I really enjoy hearing the engines and all of that. And the way they kind of looked at it at CitizenCon is that they don't know if they're going to do a toggle system, because it might put some people at a disadvantage in combat and whatnot. Um, and again, I don't know. That's up to them. They're working on it right now. I would like to hear more about it and see more about it. How the implementation is gonna be. Um, Obviously, I like the audio. I like to hear. It's a video game. It would be more immersive to in space. You're not gonna hear anything. Again, that would be more immersive. Immersive. But it I think each person kind of looks at it a little bit differently. Each person kind of wants something a kind of a different experience. And if you can toggle it, uh, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And then, of course, static silver meshing. This is going to be a version of silver meshing where it has distinct servers set for distinct regions. Uh, I know CIG talked a lot in the past about having a server for Stanton and a server for Pyro, but in actuality, they could do a server for Crusader, Microtech, Hurston. Dynamic server meshing is essentially when they allocate a server to populated areas. So if there are 50 players in the area, they would get their own server. If there is 20 players in another area, they get their own server. And if there's a planet that has nobody on it, they won't have a server over there. But static silver meshing is essentially whether there's anybody on Daymar or not, Daymar is its own server. So that's static. It's where a server is permanently allocated to a location. But whether they decide to do Stanton as a server or Pyro as a server, or if they decide to do, individual planets, doesn't really matter. It's all static server meshing. Dynamic server meshing is when a server is spooled up to specifically handle a load. So that's not what we're getting this year. We're getting just static server meshing. So yeah, I believe that we will get static server meshing in 2024. CNG are saying that they're shooting for summer. Again, if that gets pushed back to the end of the year, I think that'll be perfectly fine. It is a big update that is essentially going to determine the future of the entire game. So I want CNG to take the time and get it right. Next thing is the resource management system. Okay, engineering gameplay. This is huge, and has a lot of implications and a lot of ripple effects. Right now, for them to implement this, they would have to redo just about every ship in the game. I do not. I think that uh, a version of this might come out this year, but I don't think we're gonna get full resource management and engineering this year. Simply because, ships like you look at ships like the Freelancer, ships like the 600i. There are a ton of ships that still do not have their physicalized components attach and detach. So for them to not only implement the components attach and detach, but also resource management on those ships, I think it might get rolled out slowly in certain ships like the Hammerhead. But what people have brought up that's difficult about that is that that is going to put these ships at a major disadvantage from other ships that don't have to worry about that. So let's say you're in a Hammerhead and you're fighting a bunch of fighters, you have to run around the ship and deal with all this resource management when maybe another large ship like the Carrack that you're fighting with doesn't have to worry about that. Let's say you're fighting with the A2, they don't have to worry about that while you're running around, fixing your resource management. So I feel like this is one of those things that they should really take their time and make sure all of the ships have the same features and technology at the same time, so as to not give an advantage or disadvantage to anybody else. So yeah, I think they should take their time with it. We might get it this year, but I personally think they should take their time with this system. Don't rush it into the game. The next is the new HUD. Again, I don't think this is going to be hard to implement. I think they should just prioritize this. This is a quality of life thing that the players absolutely need. Resource management is cool, but it's a big gameplay mechanic that we don't need right now. But the new HUD, the new Moby Glass, you know, we need that. So they have FPS repair gameplay here as well. We kind of have that in 322 point whatever on EP2 right now with the new salvage gun, the larger dedicated Grey Cat salvage gun. I absolutely think we're getting that this year. Uh, FPS scanning, ping. I think we're getting that this year as well. Again, this is a lot of just UI stuff. They should be able to just, uh, you know, plug and play and get this in. And it's one of those things that I think they should prioritize because it's quality of life. Uh, 3D mini map. downloadable to mobiGlass. Okay, again, this is one of those things that would absolutely change the gameplay, make the quality of the game so much better. I think they need to prioritize getting this in over something like resource management. Unified star map. Of course, the star map is so brutal. It makes the game very hard to play. They absolutely need to get that in. Path routing with pings. So that's essentially where you can go to a location and drop a pin on it and go back to that location, whether it has a quantum marker or not. A lot of people are saying this is going to be huge because you might be able to sell these locations, these coordinates, to other players so they can go and find these locations, caves, rivers, anything interesting, a crash site. Let's say you are in a scanning ship, uh, the Cutter scanning ship, and you go to a location, you find a crash site, you get the coordinates for that crash site, you sell it to a vulture. The vulture goes and salvage that location. It's going to be huge for gameplay. I think CG absolutely needs to prioritize this, and of course, data running again. Of course, that's the ability to share and sell these marker locations to other players who can use this to find resources. A lot of people are talking about base building right now. You can go, you can scan, you can get this location. I think this is a huge prerequisite for base building because you can find these resources. This is going to be a part of exploration as well, going out there and finding locations on planets that have good resources, then selling them to players to mine, to salvage, to do all of that stuff. So I think CRG need to prioritize everything in this section, and I think we're definitely gonna get this stuff this year. But again, it's just a matter of time if we're gonna get it, in the first half or the second half of the year. Okay, the next one is character advancement, frontier clothing. We kind of already have that now. We have new clothing with the gangs, the dusters and whatnot. Rough and Ready gang, again, we kind of already have that part with Pyro Playground. We've seen them over there. Headhunters gang, that's we have the Citizen Con trophy, Headhunters gang trophy. Again, this is just all kind of clues that make me believe that we're definitely getting this stuff this year. Player hygiene gameplay. This is one of those things that we might get this year, but in what implementation? I really don't think it's gonna be where, oh, you smell um NPCs react to you. I don't think we're getting that this year. Um, you know, Player hygiene is also, in my opinion, not a priority. So, but it's a part of that blood, sweat, and tears system. I think that CG showed off. Again, I think it's kind of something that the game doesn't need right now. It's a cool idea, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's necessary. New hair types, we did get new hair types. We're gonna get more. We're gonna get beards, whole new character creator, new character heads. We haven't got to new character faces yet, so that is something that we're supposed to get this year. New character creator with sculpting mode. That's the ability to like pull the nose out and shrink the ears and move all the different facial features around to your liking instead of doing the blending that we have now. I think that's really necessary. A lot of new players are coming to the game, and a part of the MMO experience is being able to configure your character and make them look like you and feel good about your character, make them look good right now. In the past, Star Citizen characters had very goofy hairstyles. They look, they kind of just, it was the bare minimum, in my personal opinion, to get immersed in the game. But now you can really, make your character the way you want it, and a lot more people are going to be attracted to the game because of that. Hey, life in the first person. We're gonna try to, go through this a little bit faster. Zero G EVA experience update. This is the new EVA push and pull, so you can like grab on to things. I think we're gonna get this in select locations, maybe around space stations. You're gonna be able to have grab points on your ships and whatnot. Um, but again, this is going to be important for boarding and different things. I don't know. I think it's possible. They've shown off a lot of EVA updates over the years, and we still don't have it. So I don't know what's taking them so long with it. Uh, but I do think we're gonna get it this year. I'm just not 100% confident with it. Player traversal updates, prone ladder slide. I think we're gonna get that this year. Radiation. Now we've seen a little bit of that in the Pyro playground with the flares and stuff. I don't think that'll be too difficult for CIG to implement. Inner thought updates. This is also going to be huge. This is essentially where you have to press F to interact with everything. I think one thing that CIG should do is that they should make a third person interaction system. The interaction system right now is not great, but I can live with it. The most frustrating part about the interaction system to me right now is the fact that it always throws you back in the first person when you're walking around in third person. It makes it basically unusable to walk around in third person when you want to do cinematics, when you want to, feel cool and RP walk and do all this kind of stuff. Constantly pushing you back in the first person is very annoying. So I think more importantly than even this new interaction system is to get like a third person version. Maybe it's simplified. Maybe you can just like pick things up or open doors. But even if they did just that, just giving us the ability to open doors in third person, in my opinion, would just change the game completely. I hate being thrown back into first person to get into the elevator. It's so annoying. But yeah, I do think we're gonna get that this year. Player animated interaction. So that's when the player character actually reaches their hand out to press the button to open the door. Yeah, I think it's totally possible. They showed it off. It looks pretty good. Kiosk and terminal update. Again, I think we're absolutely getting that. It's pretty easy for CIG to upgrade the terminals. Now that they have building blocks integrated in just about all of the terminals, building blocks was really the major thing keeping them back from updating terminals more frequently. But now that building blocks is in all the terminals, they can just do what they need to do with the terminals, and also like the glare on them and stuff like that. Next is looting screen update. Now this they have to change because it's not going to be exactly like Squadron 42. Squadron 42's looting system is a little bit different because again, you're not going to take the armor off of the player, the NPCs and whatnot. So the looting screen in Squadron 42 is going to be different than the Persist universe. So this is something that they have to continually work on. So I would say I'm 50% on this one. I'm not 100% sure if we're going to get this in this year. Okay. Next is FPS takedowns. Again, this is just kind of animation. I think we get that. FPS radar ping. Again, it's new ping system. I think we're absolutely gonna get that. But that's basically where you're on foot and you can kind of scan. Again, that's just a matter of CIG implementing the UI to be able to do that, and a little bit of tech to allow the player to have some kind of cooldown, so they're just not always pinging. Okay. And then weapon wear, this is where your weapon will jam and do different things like that. Again, in my opinion, this is just animations and RNG if the weapon jams or whatever. So you there's probably some numbers and values that they have to play with to make it feel good and stuff like that. So I think that's going to happen this year as well. Weapon scope improvements. Again, this is visual. I think that they're going to be able to get this in the game this year. The new scopes look really good. They, give you the ability to maybe look over someone's shoulder through the scope or kind of move around through the scope. It is more realistic, simulation of what that is going to be, and I think a lot of people are going to like that. Next is taking flight. Okay, immersion in the cockpit. This is essentially where the player is pressing buttons and doing stuff. Some ships like the Gladius have that startup animation where the player goes and then presses buttons and doing different things. But this system is essentially where you see buttons in the cockpit, and when you press F, your character reaches out and touches them. It's kind of like the interaction system with doors and stuff. Uh, I do think we could get this year, but it comes down to ships again. There are a lot of ships in the game, and CIG have to align each animation for each ship. So realistically, it's not just as simple as saying, okay, we rigged it so this character can press the button wherever it is. It's you have to create a dedicated animation for each ship. You have to create a system that allows the game to know what ship that they're in, and the character be able to play that animation for that ship to line everything up and make it look good. Again, I don't think it's super necessary. So again, I'm gonna say 50% on this one. I'm really not sure that we're gonna get it this year. Complete ship HUD rework. This is just a visual thing. I think we're gonna get this. Um, Again, they do have to do it for all ships, but I think because building blocks, they're gonna get building blocks in, and maybe only a few ships are gonna get it, but not all of them. But I think that the technology to kind of get it in ships like the Gladius, I think that's gonna happen. Ship to helmet MFD casting. This is to cast your MFD to your helmet HUD. I think we're gonna get that too. Uh, New configuration profiles for different situations. Again, possibly. I'm not 100% sure. This is again, I think for your systems, for your MFDs. Right now, our MFDs, we can keep them up. The MFDs do persist now, but if of course if your ship blows up, your MFDs aren't going to persist. Then we have master modes. This is the nav mode, SCM mode. We kind of have this in Arena Commander. I think what's going to happen is throughout the year, throughout 2024, CIG are going to slowly roll out new ships that have this in Arena Command. I don't think we're going to get this for the Persistent Universe. Again, I think CIG should test out every single ship in Arena Commander first. Like, you add the C1 and the Retaliator, and you add in, just every ship, every combat ship, every industrial ship to Arena Commander with uh, the new master modes, and then once they all feel good in Arena Commander, then take them to the P. Quantum boosting. This is the ability to go into quantum speed without a quantum marker. So you essentially just see a moon off in the distance, and you want to just go straight there. You just spool up your quantum drive. You hit quantum boost, and you just go in that direction, but you're controlling it the whole time. So I do think we're gonna get that this year. I think that is again kind of separate from master modes, or I think that can be separated from master modes. Um, but if CIG wants to do a cohesive update, like have the new quantum tunnel visuals, the new quantum boosting, and master modes all together, I don't think we're gonna get quantum boosting this year. I think we'll get it next year. So I'm 50% on the quantum boosting. We could get it this year. We might not. You know. Then sub targeting different components on ships. Again, there's a high possibility we get it this year, but I'm gonna give it a 50% again. I'm not very certain that we will, because you have to remember subcomponents hasn't been properly built out for every ship, so targeting that doesn't really make sense until all of those ships get their physicalized components. Until all ships have their physicalized components that can be attached and detached, sub targeting them, it doesn't make sense to add that to the game, because you'll only be able to do that for certain ships. Then you have control surfaces. I do think we're gonna get that this year for ships that have control surfaces. But again, it's one of those things where we're gonna have to go through and rework every ship that has a control surface to get this in game. So I'd say I'm about 70% on this one. Okay. I'm gonna try to, speed it up a little bit more because there's just so many features. Living on the edge, new settlements, we're gonna get that with local missions. We kind of already have new settlements. Reputation and access, good, bad, neutral. I don't think we can get the new reputation with NPCs and stuff like that. Maybe, but I don't know. I'll say I'm 50% on that one. Then we got distribution centers. I do think we're gonna get that this year, with the raids. Again, that's missions, locations. Montreal has been, so fast spitting out these new locations. I would not be surprised at all if we get distribution centers. New hauler gameplay. This is missions for uh hauling cargo instead of trading. I do think we're gonna get that this year. Uh, Container attributes, freight elevators. Again, I think we're gonna get that this year. Personal hangars. I think we're gonna get that this year. Base building with land claims. Again, I think we're gonna get that this year. So, the only other thing that I think is not on this list, wasn't at CitizenCon, of course, was building interiors and HABs, which I also think we could realistically get this year. Um, and there's a few other things that we could get this year. Updates to planetary tech. CIG are more than likely going to add new cave types. I know they talked about that a lot. During ISCs. I think that they might put it on the back burner and say, okay, we have so much other stuff to deliver this year. We're gonna let the new cave types um, cook a little bit longer, but I think realistically that's another kind of easy um, thing to try to deliver that they might tackle on their way to doing all this other stuff, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes they get hung up on delivering something, so they have devs work on something else. So you always got to think about those little things that they can also add that can fill the spot in a patch. But let me know what you guys think. That's a lot of stuff. I don't know how CIG is gonna do it, honestly, but I'm excited for this year. But yeah, like I always say in this video, at the end of these videos, you guys like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Salute.